We will now call to order the Special Committee on Reducing Red Tape on Monday, June 3rd, 2024 at 3:09 p.m. Madam Clerk, can you please call the roll?
Alderwoman Spencer. Vice Chair Oldenburg. Alderman Ryan. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard. Alderwoman Keys. Alderwoman Sanye.
Present.
Vice Chairman Chair Velazquez.
Present.
Alderwoman Spencer. Vice Chair Oldenburg. Alderman Ryan. Alderwoman Keys. We have 3 present.
Thank you. Are you sure, Alderman Narayan? He said he was online. He was supposed to be online.
I see Oldenburg, but he didn't answer.
Okay, well, with that, I'm going to hold off on approving minutes because I don't think we have quorum right now. So great. So this is the third in a series of listening sessions that the Special Committee for Reducing Red Tape has had. Last week we heard, or the week before last, we heard we focused on food trucks. The week before that, we focused on small minority and women-owned businesses. And the first week we focused on restaurants. So today is going to be small business, and we do have to be out of here by 4:15 p.m. So it doesn't look like we'll have a problem getting that in. But what we'll do is we're here to listen. So clerk, if you could keep 5 minutes for testimony, we could time it for 5 minutes for each person. And then before we go into public comment, do we have any questions from committee members? Nope. Okay, great. So we'll get started with public comment.
We have 3 people for public comment. I'm sorry, we have 3 people. Are you going to swear me in?
Oh, I'm sorry. If you're here to testify, can you raise your right hand? Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? Great.
We have John Ching.
Hello, Chairwoman and the members of the committee. For this opportunity to speak today, my name is John Chen. I'm a longtime city resident and business owner. Actually started my first business in the city in early 2002, 2003. I am currently the operator of Urban Eats Food Incubator and also a nonprofit social impact organization, Dutch Towns, called Neighborhood Innovation Center. I am speaking today in general, I apologize, I missed the previous hearings, and actually I wear so many hats. I think that the missed hearing actually really speak to my role as an immigrant, as a food entrepreneur, and also as a nonprofit social impact, social entrepreneur. So small business. Our mission in the Dutch Town Neighborhood Innovation Center and also Urban Eats Food Incubator is to support small minority, largely small business and minority business and those from underserved and the particular immigrant populations. My personal story, I'm an immigrant, it's been 32 years, and I could not imagine my path and lead me to this today. Have this opportunity to talk to you. As I mentioned, our social impact organization, Neighborhood Innovation Center, is to make entrepreneurship accessible and cultivating a new generations of diverse, innovative entrepreneurs and small business in our city neighborhood. Our work goes beyond just business. Of course, it's about preserving history, embracing diversity, and supporting our community, and in return, supporting revitalizing our city and our neighborhood. The current challenge in terms of licensing and permits, I collected some of the comments from our current members and also in addition to our own experience. Basically, we say we face significant challenges to hinder our effort to help small, aspiring entrepreneurs to launch and grow businesses in the city. The current permitting licensing is cumbersome and often act as a deterrence, as we see, particularly for the underserved entrepreneurs and immigrant business. I have at least 3 examples for immigrant business wants to start. As soon as we start our 7-step permit license process, we have a checklist, 7 steps. We said, oh, apologize, we try to make this as easy as possible. We have 2 of them actually quit. They decided to leave, not to pursue. The process is not only complex, but also time-consuming and costly, creating barriers that are difficult to overcome for many aspiring business owners. So I want to talk specifically on the Urban East side. We try to make it easier by creating a 7-step licensing and permit process. First 2 steps is related to the federal and the state, and the last 5 steps is actually related to the city. This is all based on our own experience and the collection data collected from every month we have a new member coming in, we're collecting information from them, try to update that as much as possible. But that is what I share with you, some of the examples from that process, what we see, why there are hindering effect for our business, for aspiring business owner want to start to set up, to formalize their business. Actually, they want to go legit, but we made it really hard for them. So first of all, actually, like I said, I'm not going to go through the 7 process, but the specific issue related to this, to the license collector and then the collective revenue, I wanted to just focus on one, if we can make a step, one small change or one small, most frustrating process, we can make that easier, is a manufacturing permit. Manufacturing permit for this issue, it's only risen recently during the COVID-19 shutdown, or even prior to that, until most likely my date is not, the first emerged the issue as all these aspiring members coming to collector, license collectors, in addition to the business permit and the health permit, they are all required to obtain manufacturer permit. So I want to talk about this imposition of the manufacturer permit on all food business, even those who just start to test their product at farmers market and pop-ups, and their desire to—
I'm sorry, that's your time.
I'm sorry.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. You can finish.
Thank you. Okay. That it created a confusion because of previously that process did not exist. And meaning that every food business coming to Urban East, a food incubator, actually are required to obtain a manufacturer license. And these are, like I said, are early stage aspiring entrepreneurs. And the specific assessment of a manufacturing permit require assessment of these equipment, taxes on these equipment. And then none of our members do not own these equipment. And the operator of the incubators assessed those taxes, not these incubator members. This, as you can see, impose unreasonable burden on any food businesses, and even they just starting out. So I was just, like I said, I'd like to urge the city to consider the following specific recommendation based on that is, obviously everyone's talking about streamlining the overall process, and perhaps for aspiring new businesses, try a streamlined, easy version like what we see in 1040 EZ tax filing or postcard tax filing for nonprofit. Make it easy version, a simple version for those who just starting out. That's a first specific recommendation. Secondly is reevaluate the manufacturing permit. Reconsider the necessity and application of the manufacturing permit for startup food business. This permit should not be blanket requirements, especially for those testing their product in shared spaces like our incubator. Third is the support and guidance, and provide more support and guidance, more streamlined, integrated support for small business owner. And as when we deal with the manufacturer license, we actually invited the license collectors team, and they also made an unannounced visit to our space. We try to demonstrate this is not necessary. Unfortunately, we could not change that process. So they just basically they have to pay two fees for their businesses. We even escalated to the mayor's office on this matter. We unfortunately been told that apparently they all reporting license collector reporting to different. It's not under mayors, and there's other reason. This cannot be changed. It's quite frustrating. Long story short, we are here to ensure our small businesses we are supporting can be going through more streamlined, more accessible process. We can empower them to turn their dreams into reality, and by reducing the red tape in this permit license process, it would be a huge part of that endeavor. And I appreciate anything the Board of Aldermen, this committee can do.
Well, thank you, Mr. Chen. I'm going to go and see if my colleagues have questions. Alderman Oldenburg, I know you're listening. Do you have any questions? Maybe. All right. Alderman Narayan? Alderwoman Clark Hubbard?
No questions, just thank you for being here and thank you for your testimony.
Thank you.
Alderwoman Sonier?
Same, no questions. Just thank you for being here, and I like that you were very specific. I'm definitely going to look into what you described. That was certainly some new information to me, so thank you for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. I have some questions for you before you head out. That is actually one of them. I don't know if you wouldn't mind forwarding some of the email correspondence that you had specifically about what you faced, and it is the license collector is technically a county office because the city is a city-county kind of thing. How many members do you have in your incubator?
So it fluctuates because it's a fluctuating every month, new come, and then there's one graduating, exhibiting. Right now we have about 20.
20. And then I'm curious, so you all made a 7-step checklist?
We have. We compile that ourselves.
Can you share a copy with us? I would love to see that. And you said that out of the 7 steps, 1 is state, 1 is federal, and 5 is the city?
Federal, yeah. The other 5 are.
Great. And if you have it looks like you wrote if you could share, because I took notes for the 3 points, but I think we'd have to check, but I like the idea of making a simpler version for new, just starting out businesses.
I emailed that to you.
Okay, perfect. Well, thank you, Mr. Chen.
Okay.
We appreciate you being here.
Thank you very much.
The
Madam
next
Clerk?
speaker is Robert Griesedick.
I believe you heard from me a couple of weeks ago about having a disabled-owned business in the city.
But I'll interrupt you and just say, if you could just for the sake of people who may not have, you could just tell us your name and,
My name is Robert Griesedick. I'm from Griesedick Brothers Brewery. We are located in the 12th Ward, the city of St. Louis. I've already spoken in front of this body to discuss access or lack thereof for a disabled-owned business, but today I'd like to speak about what it's like to be a manufacturer in the city. We already heard a little bit about acquiring a manufacturer's license. I actually had to count all my city permits before coming down here. We have a manufacturer's license, a graduated manufacturer's, a 22% manufacturer's liquor permit, and a wholesale liquor permit. Those are both acquired from the excise office. And we are required to have an occupancy permit as well. If we were not in the 12th Ward, or for that case, the 11th or 13th, we would be able to plat and petition, or we would be able to skip that and get a retail liquor permit. But we're in the 12th Ward, and that is not allowed in our ward anymore. We all are aware, though, according to the Post-Dispatch and other news, the city is struggling to make cash flow for the 1.5% income tax on anyone who lives or works in the city. And, well, retail is a low-hanging fruit to get that 1.5%. and while we see e-commerce upend the retail sector, within my industry, front of house is the gatekeeper for hiring. You're talking to the customer, you're engaging the consumer, you're driving cash flow, and you are encouraging responsible use of our product. Business is doing that, not government. If you want to make it easier for a business to open up, please stop moving the goalposts and putting up any kind of ordinance based on ward, whether it's the 3rd or the 13th. Please, your obligation is to bring the voice of your constituents, residents and businesses alike, to reach a holistic answer to the city's problems. I mean, Alderwoman Velasquez, you don't have to live in Shaw to visit the restaurants in Shaw. Alderwoman Sanye, you're rebuilding the Cherokee Street business corridor. It's not just the citizens of your ward that are visiting those businesses. Alderwoman Clark Hubbard, you have the Muni, you have the zoo. Every business is paying a tax to those institutions. But if I wanted to take public transit from my brewery to those institutions, it's an hour each way with public transit. I can actually get a faster drive from my county. I mentioned the manufacturer's property declaration, and I'm lining up all these items, and I remind myself we do this every year with a deadline of July 1st. When we receive that bill at the end of the year, it's a variable rate because the city has to figure out how much does it owe and what are the businesses that need to pay into it. And we actually have a higher tax rate than many residents, at least that is my understanding. We pay taxes multiple times. We pay a manufacturer's tax. We pay a personal property tax. We pay a real estate tax. If we could actually build a payroll where we are, we'd have a payroll tax. And we're not necessarily seeing a return on the investment of all of those taxes. 75% of my tax bill is going to the schools. And I would love to see those schools be palaces. I would love to see everyone graduate with either going to college or going to a trade school. But that doesn't happen. And I also see then the next line item is public safety. Businesses are leaving this city because workers don't feel safe. When we first moved in, we had neighborhood safety officers on bicycles. We once ran into, we talked to them at the local Subway shop. They're eating lunch. An old man and his grandsons came in. He sat them down and said, "You don't act up well, they will arrest you." That's not what the police do, but that's what they had to put up with. We're down officers, but our money's going to that. So I would say that knowing where it's going, please make sure to reinvest in those schools and make sure that our money is going to a police force that needs to get paid more and needs to be retained. Also make sure those teachers are getting paid more because they deal with the students on a much longer time period during the day than the parents do. They need to be paid well so that they are retained. So other than that, paying better to the people who are dealing with in our lives, but also please get rid of the ordinances on a ward by ward level, whether it's a speed bump or a stop sign or a moratorium. Honestly, those are vanity metrics. We need to have a whole solution for the city and not just 1 out of 14. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. I'm going to go by and see in order of seniority and see if folks have, my colleagues have questions. Alderman Oldenburg? He's watching.
Alderman Ryan's on as well.
Alderman Narayan? Alderman Clark Hubbard?
He said the Zoom just went down when he was trying to get on. The whole Zoom went down. Alderman Ryan did. I'm just letting you
Well,
know. Okay.
what would they reboot? If you want to ask, if you've got questions.
You are in the meeting now.
Alderman Narayan?
He was online. He's back.
Oh, yep. Oh, he just.
He's on though. We sent it to him. He was waiting on you. So here, I'll just ask a couple. So I agree with you about, especially about the traffic calming measures that we have to take that on that on as individual alders to try to mitigate those problems, those issues that we're having. So I 100% agree with you on that. The other ones that you mentioned, I wanted to get clarity on because you said specifically for the 12th ward. So, which ordinances were you speaking so that we'll know how to direct the conversation on that?
Central North City.
No, I know, I know where the 12 were. I know where the area. I was asking you which ordinances. You said speed humps. What did you say? What is
Speed bumps, stop
Liquor,
signs.
you're talking about the liquor moratorium.
Oh,
You
okay.
have a
That's what I
brewery.
must have missed. I'm sorry, I missed it. So you're saying there's a moratorium on the 12th ward?
Correct. No new liquor permits. Whether you're a restaurant, brew pub, tap room, grocery store. So the north side has become a food desert, and I mean, I don't know if I'd love to find a retailer that can make it without having a liquor section, but they do to attract that margin and to bring in customers.
Okay. All right. Thank you. That's what I missed.
Great. Thank you. Alderwoman Senier?
I don't know if this is a question. I guess for me, one of the things that I would say in terms of the liquor license moratorium is right now it's kind of a thing that is in place as the individual power of an alder. You know, obviously you mentioned Cherokee Street and various other small businesses, so it's not something I would ever put 7th Ward, and I would vehemently oppose every attempt to, because, you know, I think I've talked many times, certain businesses, the ability to sell liquor is the difference between life and death and the survival of their business. But do you know of other places or other cities or states, like maybe you know more information on how have cities gone about addressing, are there other places where people do liquor license moratoriums in certain districts or certain wards, or I'm just curious if you might have any background information?
So I know that a Missouri liquor statute does allow for home rule when it comes to writing its own ordinances regarding it. Kansas City, and I got this from our state guild, Kansas City doesn't have ward level moratorium, but they do say 1 in, 1 out. So if you lose a permit, then whoever was applying could get one. As far as ward level, I would have to do more homework to see whether or not that is a thing. But could one have predicted the comeback of Cherokee Street 20 years ago? And would that have been possible if there had been a moratorium on the ward at the time?
Yeah, and it definitely wouldn't have. And I think
Right.
that's, you know, it actually was in place at one point in time and they repealed it, and definitely is credited to how we get there. And now I kind of take the opposite approach where I stay very active. I monitor who's applying for liquor license. I help connect them with the CID. I'll talk to them about conditions I feel the community has expressed to me they would be most comfortable with. But I guess, you know, as we talk about this as a committee, I think one of the things that we will have to figure out is something that a lot of our North Side colleagues use more so often than not. And I think that while there may be, you know, I certainly can understand why it may not be the best idea for businesses. I'm wondering, is there something else we could do to address some of the concerns that they are trying to address when they put the moratoriums in place? And I guess I'm also just highlighting, like, it does seem to be something that alders in certain area use because they kind of, you know, and I don't want to speak for another colleague or speak for an area I don't represent, but like you said, we're all in the city. And I think maybe some of those residents and some of the folks in those communities, if we were to take a look at taking back the ability to do the liquor license moratorium, they might want to talk about other protections they could put in place.
I think there also need to be more local opportunities for job creation as well. If you were to take public transit from the Halls Ferry Circle to the Galleria, it's 2 hours each trip. Whereas, could you imagine just the lifetime freed up, being able to work locally, and then you can leave your job, you can walk to the bus stop, pick up your kids, take them home, help them with homework, you're already done for the day for your work. But there's not that many opportunities. There's fewer business permits in general on the north side than there are overall. But I think we need to also take a approach on how to reposition what it means to live on the north side rather than what we constantly see coming through reports.
Understood. Yeah. Thank you, Madam Chair. I was just pointing it out because I'm sure we'll talk about this as a committee. I'm just saying, just like we've done for other things, if we were to talk about taking away something, we would have to talk about, like, what protections will we put in place to shield against some of those concerns. Because I feel similarly, like I feel like it hurts some businesses who I know want to be good actors and bring commerce to an area, but I haven't figured out yet what are the protections that could be put in place.
And I wonder, I don't want to put Alderman Narayan on the spot, and we can definitely revisit it. I feel like He's probably done. Alderman Narayan, are you on? Well, I know you're on, but can we see you this time?
Yes,
I don't know if you have anything to say since you were kind of the de facto liquor license expert from last session. If you have any insight and any questions as well.
So first off, just want to apologize to everyone. There was some technical issues with the Zoom link and getting on, but I have been paying attention via YouTube. So I have heard what people have been saying. I just haven't been able to talk back. But the Board Bill 60, which was the excise board bill last session, was signed into law by the mayor, and that's going to give the excise division more teeth when it comes to actually enforcing the laws, which I think should help. Excuse me, which I think should help with some of those rogue actors, and the hope ultimately is that some of our colleagues may begin feeling more comfortable and ultimately may want to rescind some of those liquor moratoriums. In the meantime, there are large portions of the city that are not under a moratorium. I know that reasonable people disagree on moratoriums, but I can say that the Fourth Ward is wide open for business. And my hope is that with the increased enforcement mechanisms under Board Bill 60, that we'll see more and more of the city really open up for business when it comes to excise.
Thank you. Alderman Ryan, do you have any questions for Mr. Griesdeck? Did I say it right?
Yeah.
Okay.
I don't just want to say, I am familiar with his work product, and I believe that he's a ninth generation brewer here in the city, if I'm not mistaken. And St. Louis has a really rich brewing tradition. It's one of the things that put this town on the map. And we now have, for the first time since Prohibition, we have more breweries operating here in the city of St. Louis than we had pre-Prohibition. So we have seen kind of a renaissance in microbreweries throughout the city, and they are great drivers of revenue for the city, and almost without fail are not a problem. And I would love to see more of them, frankly. So thank you, Mr. Griesdeck.
Thank you, Counselor.
And I don't have any questions for you, but thank you for being here. I think, actually, you said, I do have a question for you. You said that around July, you have a list of basically all the taxes from the various permits. Is that what you were saying
My
earlier?
current permit that I'm working on is the 2024 Manufacturer's Property Declaration.
Okay.
Deadline of July 1st. My excise isn't up until August.
Okay. I just wanted to clarify that. I didn't know if you had a whole list, and I was going to ask you to share the list.
Up and down those steps many times throughout the course of the year.
Well, thank you. Thank you for testifying.
Thank you so much.
We have no more speakers.
I know some folks just walked in. Does anybody in the audience want to testify? All right, if you just raise your right hand, I have to swear you in. Just say, do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Say that again. I couldn't.
Do you swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth?
Yes.
And then if you could just state your name, obviously I know you, but the rest of the folks don't, and what your relationship is to the city and your business, and tell us about.
Yes, my name is Leslie Hernandez. I have a small business catering traditional Puerto Rican food, and I would love to continue doing business in the city, but has been challenging, especially getting my license to perform businesses in the city. One of the things that I encountered this past spring well, we're still in spring, is that we were invited to be a vendor at the Cardinal home games, and we got the information, and we came here to make the step that we got the requirements to make all the steps. And for example, myself, I pay the license collector office $200, and then they send me to the health department. When I went there, it was a nightmare. I came to the health department for 2 weeks every day, getting different information, and I was not able to go anywhere. And I still have that license pending without even use it, because I don't have the resources, for example, to have a food truck. And that's something that they required for me to have the license for the sidewalk, which that was not what I was expecting. So I don't know, I just want to see what can be done for us as a small business to support the city, as well to bring culture. I mean, what I do is bring in something different, traditional Puerto Rican food, something that actually I did an event here downstairs, which a lot of people for the first time tried our food, and I have a very good turnout. And I know that if I do that around the city, I think I can be successful. But with this type of situations, when I go here, I mean, to get the license and all the permit that I need, it's frustrating. So that's why I'm here, to talk about.
We appreciate you being here. I'm going to go and see if my colleagues have any questions, going in order of seniority. Alderman Narayan?
No questions, thank you.
Alderman Clark Hubbard?
I don't have any questions. I just share in their frustration with that, and it's heartbreaking to hear again as a former entrepreneur, and I actually faced challenges myself with opening up business in the city, different type of business, but some similar challenges with the going back and forth. I just sharing your frustrations, and I want to be able to offer our support. I can support Alderman Velasquez and any kind of calls that can be made to help you with that. I think as a follow-up to some of the things that we hear, Madam Chairwoman, that we should have those departments come in response to see where the ball is being dropped, or how we can help even support them to be able to move some of these things forward. I don't know if that was already on your agendas or not, but if it wasn't, I think that we should, because we owe it to you all, first and foremost, that you all making the choice to have businesses and open and stay here in the city of St. Louis, that this should be our responsibility to support you all however we can. Have you ever worked with, I've talked about them before, and I don't talk about them just because I like them. I do like them, but I also know the impact that they've been able to make and the help that they've been able to give. Have you ever worked with our Small Business Assistance Center?
Small Business
Assistance Center here in
No.
City Hall? Okay.
No. Well, and I want to, if you allow me, something that after all that frustration, I went back to the website. I think there's some explanation, and I can read it, and I can go by, and I say, okay. But then I start thinking, okay, I can follow this. But I went to the website after I started the process, and then I started thinking, okay, I can do this, but what happened with the people that
That can, absolutely.
and I said, I need to advocate for other people, especially San Luis, that is growing with a lot of immigrants that they also trying to make a living here. And they are trying to be part of the city of St. Louis. So,
Yeah. Thank you for your willingness to serve and your willingness to give back that way. We need more people that would be able to give of themselves the way you do. So again, I just want to be in support of anything I can do to help you not only take yours forward, but then be able to reach back and help others, like you said.
okay. All right.
And I think bringing them in some of the departments is a great idea. I know that we've got some follow-up we had a very robust meeting on food trucks a couple weeks ago, and we've got some follow-up assignments from there. I don't want to do too many teasers, but we're trying to have one of these committee hearings at the Northside Economic Empowerment Center to get in the community. So, but I think we can bring in some of those departments because I'll speak for me, but I feel like you might be that way too. We're learning too. I mean, some of the things that we heard you testify, I didn't know, I know Ms. Hernandez, and I kind of want to just get some more information about the steps. But I also know that not everybody's able to even have the time or the patience. And then I'm sure it tested it.
Weeks in a row trying to, accomplish this, and it was very hard. I don't know, one suggestion, I go to Washington DC a lot. My daughter lived there. One time I went with her to get a driver license, and I was impressed the way that they handled the process to get the driver license. And it's because they have a person just in front checking all the documents before they go to where they need to go. I think that's alleviate also the people that have to help us at the the office, because I noticed those people get frustrated. And if you're frustrated, you don't do a good customer service. So a suggestion.
No, that's great. I just want to, so we're kind of clear. So you're a caterer, obviously. I mean, I don't want to be like, obviously, you're a caterer, and where you hit some red tape. So you were with your catering company trying to be a vendor at one of the home baseball games, and to do that, you found out you had to not only get a health department permit, but you had to have a sidewalk vendor permit, which I hear is nearly impossible to get, or a food truck permit, but you're not set up as a food truck.
And to be able to be a sidewalk vendor, you need a food truck or one of those cart, like the hot dogs. I mean, that costs like $15,000, and for a couple of weeks to be a vendor, well, I'm not going to have that amount to invest. So it was like a lot of miscommunication, and we were not able to participate. So it was a big loss from us as a community.
And people missed out on your food.
Yes, and we couldn't participate.
Well, I don't have any other questions. Thank you for being here.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, if you could just raise your right hand and swear to tell the whole truth and nothing but the truth.
I do.
And then just introduce yourself and how you're related, how your work is related to the city and all those good things.
Sure. My name is Samantha Smugala. I am the Executive Director of the East Loop Community Improvement District. And I don't have a business myself, but it's my job to help small businesses and to try to fill vacancies and make sure that our businesses survive. We can retain and support and attract new businesses. So I wasn't going to speak because I don't have a business myself, but I have a lot of different examples of how our businesses, our new businesses, have struggled. And, some of it's echoing what has already been said about permitting processes. But I did want to comment on the Business Assistance Center as well. A lot of times when you call in, you've got one or two questions, but that person on the other end of the phone doesn't know where you're at in the process. And so there might be some more asking and getting information from that person on the receiving end to make sure that they're actually helping you chronologically versus just answering a question and going on to the next. And I don't know what's possible, and I know not everyone is able to jump on the internet, but some sort of business portal where you're both logged in at the same time. Okay, I can see, from the Business Assistance Center that you're in this permitting process. You can check this box and do this next and walk through it together. And that way you do have a step-by-step. I've actually also, just like John, created a how to start up in the Loop guide. It's more like 17 steps. I tried to make it one page. That did not happen. But it's been well received, and any new business that started and used it said it was super helpful, and even just to keep as a reference, got a lot of different resources in the end, and even just like a one-page business plan template for people to use. I know a lot of businesses also don't know that they need to sometimes present to community, in order to get letters of support. So, that information isn't always clear. And if the community gets upset and starts sending in letters of opposition, they might have already signed a lease. Now they're stuck in a lease. They can't run their business. And so, I've been there just to try to help them through that first, even presenting to the community before they've even signed a lease. So there's some hiccups like that have been through the process where people are stuck and there's a lot of money being spent and not a lot of revenue being incurred. So.
Thank you. Thank you for being here and thank you for sharing. I'm just going to go through committee members. Alderman Narayan.
No questions. Thank you.
Alder Lady Clark Hubbard.
Well, no questions, but of course, I'm going to take my point of privilege and opportunity to brag on somebody. You might have heard or remember me saying in committee before that I have other areas in the 10th Ward that ask me, where is my Samantha? And so she absolutely has done that work. And prior to her tenure, we had another amazing resource and advocate in this space, Ms. LaCuiere, and she had come from the county and shared with me how a lot of the things that take months in the city as it relates to open up a business, for her it took a couple of weeks, if that, in the county. So again, being able to continue to support you all in the work and advocate with you all is helpful, because they are really the work that Samantha and yourself and others that have come up before that are not only doing it for themselves, but for others. They're more the first defense here, because we sometimes hear about it on the back end and have to be reactive and support for them. So being able to support you, Samantha, has been immeasurable, and your work has been a blessing to me as the older person, to be able to court and fill spaces and get people that want to choose. Again, this is a choice that they come and open up and stay, retention here in the city of St. Louis. So thank you for the work that you're doing. My continued support on anything with that. Let's compare these lists to see how we got from 7 to 17 and see where we get together. And then I continue to say it. And if there's challenges there, I know Ms. Russell and her team at the Business Assistance Center, I know the work that I know how far they have they have come to work to be a resource to businesses. They want to be the advocate. They want to be what you all need. So hearing from you all, I wish they sometimes could be invited as well to come, because I do share the links with them, because I know they would want to hear this, because this is what they do every day. And so putting the list together with them and moving forward, then I know that we can hopefully get it right, and what we can do in this committee to help get it right.
You, Alder Lady. No, I agree. I would love to see your 17-point list and compare it with your 7. And I think it is helpful for us to understand, at least, and like I said, we're learning, I'm learning, but we're learning too about what those businesses face. So that would be great. And I think your specific suggestion for the Business Assistance Center is great. As Alderwoman Clark Hubbard mentioned, I mean, we'll contact them. They were here at the last meeting. We are working on a listening session where we're at an SLDC space and working closely with them. So I think that's something that they want to do. They want feedback, and they're using, this is an opportunity for them to get feedback as well. So I appreciate that. And I think to Alder Lady Clark Hubbard's point, again, getting in some of the departments, I know that the administration is working on some kind of web portal. I don't know what its capacities are. They're in the process, so at some point, hopefully they will present to the committee. It's a little early for them to present now, but I think, your suggestions and what you said, it's really good feedback to share with them.
Thank you.
Anybody else out there that's here that hasn't testified? If you could raise your right hand and swear, do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
And if you could just introduce yourself, how you're connected to the city,
Yeah, so my name is Ricardo Martinez. I am the Hispanic Chamber Small Business Consultant. Essentially, my job entails talking to a lot of the businesses in the area, see where they are and what hurdles they have to overcome to keep growing. And above that, I am also a business owner myself, essentially doing IT for restaurants in particular. I think that I wanted to at least share my thoughts and perspectives and experiences so far with kind of having businesses in both St. Louis, Illinois, and the county. I mean, I think it really comes down to, especially for food businesses. I think food businesses, it's very different from many other businesses, and it does feel a lot of times like they have, since they are kind of more compared to relatively speaking to IT services, where there's not so much regulation or food or prices or taxes towards any of the actual software being built, right? Relative to restaurants, where it seems like they have a lot of different permits, a lot of different, every single thing that they have to submit in order to keep in business. And well, like I said, sometimes whenever they do submit an application, it does take months. But if their license lapses, it doesn't take much long to get something in return for that they lapse, and they have to close down essentially for selling their liquor. So it does seem a lot of times that it's especially towards those businesses who are starting off, it's extremely difficult to start without having a loan. And I think a lot of times you see that right now, where businesses that are starting in restaurant do take out loans, and then essentially to still test their products and see if there's market fit. And if there's not, well, then they still have that loan. But if they don't have the capital or resources to maintain that restaurant, it doesn't seem a way for them to keep in business. So that it results for a lot of them to just try out to go into the county. And I think that whether it be Hispanic restaurants, which are the majority of what we see, that there's just, it's harder for them to stay in the city. I think there's one family that owns eight or nine, and they have some in Illinois, and then they started going to the county, and then they have since decided that they're not going to have any more in the city, and then they're going to go to the county for next ones. So it's just because they've had so many difficulties with liquor license or anything else. Not to say that the county part of it is perfect by any means, because then they also require citizenship for a lot of their different municipalities, which is in of itself it's also difficult. You know, if you have different from state, and then from also the municipality, it makes it difficult. But it does seem, especially for restaurants and food businesses, trying to survive, that it just gets harder and harder, because there's, especially when you have an industry which is not high profit margins in general, but then just adding on to all the difficulties of doing business, it just seems a little unfair for them, especially for it's specifically, I would say, because another thing, like construction businesses, if they're in business and they usually have a contract, they make a few $1,000s on just the profit alone, right? And so, but restaurants, they're trying to at least be able to pay the rising costs in where they're housed or where they're doing business above that, than trying to maintain the increasing pay of employees, which right now is also, if they have to pay employees $20, $25 an hour for cooks, and then above that, then they also have the rising costs of just food, just all of their materials, and then they also have to make sure that they keep up with a lot of these different permits, and especially, like I said, and even now, even when you see a lot of them have gone through either a third party or a lawyer specifically just to manage these different things, and that's thousands of dollars just to have someone to help them to get all these things done. But yeah, I think especially towards that side, I think with the other ones, I think the minority business MBE, right now there's still like months waits to get an MBE in order to do business with in the city. So that too, but that's like for any construction business or anything like that, it's taken them months to even get approved or even get a word back if they're approved or not. Yeah, and but yeah, a lot of them are just my thoughts and opinions so far. I've been out talking to over 80 businesses now within the chamber, and I do think that the restaurants and food businesses do get a little bit more of that, the regulation. And a lot of times I think that insurance in of itself is also a major regulator, especially for when it comes to doing any kind of construction, right? If you're doing a construction and say you're starting a fencing company, a lot of times the insurance is the actual one that regulates whether or not your business you can get some businesses. Then it depends on if you have insurance or not. And then if you want to keep doing for commercial or for government, then you need to actually have certifications and a lot of different requirements. But
Excuse me, that's your 5 minutes.
Yep.
Just want to finish up your thought.
Yeah, but the initial step should be more easier to obtain.
Thank you, Mr. Martinez. I'm going to check and see if the committee has questions. Alderman Narayan?
No questions. Thank you.
Alder Lady Clark Hubbard?
No questions. I just want to do as I did with others and thank you for your service and for giving back. I know, thank you for the connection Alderwoman Velasquez had made for a business brutalum in the 10th Ward that I was trying to advocate for you all. And I think you all connected with them and were able to support them, which was an unfortunate situation with that as well here. So anything that I can just do here publicly, I want to offer my support for you in the chamber and moving forward to support you all in your work and advocacy for businesses here in the city.
Thank you, Alder Lady. I've got some questions for you, but first, thank you for being here. Thank you for sharing your insights. Obviously, I'm a big fan of the Hispanic Chamber. I know that they do a lot of good work. So just curious, does the county require citizenship for some licenses?
Depending on the municipality.
So there's certain, I haven't heard that before. So that's just.
Depending on the municipality, then when you have, I think one of the ones that requires is Baldwin. So I think depending on which municipality you're in, some may require.
A citizenship license to open a restaurant?
You have to be to have a liquor license.
To have a liquor license, you have to be a citizen.
Yep.
Sorry, I'm just taking that in. And then just we've been hearing about the long waits for MB or minority and women business certification. I know that's something that we'll be working with SLDC on. I know that there's some changes to come, so hopefully us and the chamber can stay connected on some of those, on what those changes look like and how to make it better. I'm just curious because I've heard it. I'm curious for the businesses that you work with. I don't think we really have many forms and languages other than English. Have you seen that be an issue for the businesses that you work with?
Yeah. I mean, language access in general is a big issue, and I think a lot of times, a lot of these businesses starting off do have to hire on someone to come as a third party to help them out, especially for the translating side of it. If they can't understand how to apply for the liquor license, they need to hire someone in order to get it going.
Wow, because we talked to, when we were going through the Board Bill 60, we talked to some business owners that, I mean, consulting companies that make thousands of dollars just trying to help them get there, and it ends up being more cost effective to do that. But then you're saying that for some of these businesses, that and the cost of making sure that you've got a translator and probably translating some of those documents, or at least the ones that you have to sign, I would imagine.
Yeah, and I've seen some of the third parties that are helping out with just applying for a renewal is like $1,000 for just applying for the renewal. So I think that there has been a large gap that is being filled in with a lot of high prices.
And it sounds like another way that people are taking advantage of the situation.
Yep.
Well, I don't have any other questions for you. Thank you so much for testifying. Sure. Can we?
Yeah.
You're with the Hispanic Chamber. Can you tell the folks on the internet how they can get in contact with you in the HC?
Yeah. So I think if they just go to hccstl.com, then there's some of the people that list of who from the contact us.
Great. Well, thank you. Is there anybody else here who wants to testify? Madam Clerk, do we have anybody online who wants to testify?
We have none.
All right. Well, with that, we are going to conclude today's meeting, but I want to say thank you to all of the folks who came out. As you know, we're doing these listening sessions to kind of sort through the red tape, what we can do. We have one more listening session scheduled for next week at the same time, and that one will be focused on special events. So if you have, I know that some folks out there have some special events that they do, we'd love to hear from them. I've heard anecdotally that there are a lot of issues with how we do special events. And then, as I mentioned, we are working in conjunction with SLDC to do one of these meetings off-site and in the evening so it's more accessible to people. I don't have a date pinned down just yet. We're trying to work through that, but I will share with the email lists and I'll share with obviously the committee, but we do think it's important to get out into the community, and we know that why we love the Kennedy Room and City Hall, that it's not always the most welcoming place to have these discussions. So we're going to try and move them. So also, if you have suggestions on other places, this committee is through the full session, so it concludes in April, or I guess March, theoretically. So if there's other places that might be good to host these conversations, please let us know, because again, we know that sometimes even it being here at City Hall can be a barrier. So with that, I will take a motion to adjourn, or hold on, oops, announcement, yes.
I've done this at the other meetings, and I didn't want to miss this opportunity in case someone is watching to share the information for the Business Assistance Center that we reference a lot here, and also correct myself, because while I kept saying Miss Russell, it's Mrs. Lattimore.
Mrs.
I have to
Aretha
make sure I
Lattimore.
give reference where it is Mrs. Lattimore and her staff up in the Business Assistance Center. Their number is 314-622-4120, and their email address is bac@stlouis-mo.gov. So Business Assistance Center is bac@stlouis-mo.gov. And then the other compliance questions and getting your certifications and stuff, I think will be able to be answered when we have the SLDC meeting, because that goes through their office, which the Business Assistance Center also falls under.
Thank you. And the plan is to have like an open house style meet and greet. So some of those, so if people want to testify, they'll also be able to access some of the services. We'll also be calling the HCC. So before I actually adjourn, Madam Clerk, any written testimony?
We have none.
Alderman Narayan and Alderlady Clark Hubbard, any announcements? All right, I will move to excuse Alderwoman Keys. Alderman Oldenburg was on. I guess he just couldn't log on. And then I will take a motion to adjourn.
I move that we adjourn.
Second.
Previous roll.
Previous roll. Thank you.
Everyone have a blessed day.